SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Whether you're looking to start a career with no student loans or change careers to land one of the happiest jobs in the world, yep, that's construction, Build Mississippi can help. Visit buildmississippi.com to learn why a career in the trades deserves another look. Buildmississippi.com. Your future is waiting.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21. I want you to believe me, baby. I have lots of fun.
Good morning to you. Welcome once again to Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes in again for the shivering Richard Cross, who is in Oxford, of course, and has been battling through everything that's been going on there. We'll be talking to him later in the show. We get another update today on how things are going. I'll go ahead and tell you, not a lot different from how they were going yesterday. It hasn't been that big of a change because we haven't really been above freezing in the state since this winter weather event passed through over the weekend. But we do have some hope on the horizon there. That's the good news. We'll talk about that in a moment. Lance over in the booth. How you doing this morning, sir?
Buenos dias. Yeah, it was one of those things, getting to work this morning. There's a lot more cars on the road today. So if you're getting out going, I think everybody's pretty much been called back to the office by this point. And hopefully we will have some above freezing temps across the state today, allow some of this thaw to happen because, yeah, buddy, you told me it was 16 there. It was 19, 18 range here. I know it's much cooler up in the northern part of the state, and so there will be some relief today as far as from the cold temps, but it will drop back down tonight and get cold again across the state. So get you some sun today, and whatever you can thaw out there, get after it because there'll be a window for you.
Now, that does bring a new danger.
Yes, exactly.
Big time, because it's going to get up above freezing in parts of the state, not the entire state, but it's going to get up above freezing for a few hours today. And then it's going to immediately crash back down below freezing, which means a lot of the stuff that melts this afternoon will refreeze into solid, slick ice tonight. So take that into account as you're going around, and not necessarily talking as much about the roads because south half of the state, mostly, not all of it, looking at you over by the river, but mostly the roads are in decent shape in the south half of the state. However, there are other areas, say from Jackson north. We'll be very arbitrary with our line there. You could see some things that are on the road that melt, that run off, then refreeze, and we have additional problems. I'm just saying, continue to be careful this week, because, well, just because it warms up doesn't mean everything's over and everything's fine again. It doesn't work like that, I'm afraid. And Lance, it just feels like nothing's working like it's supposed to right now. Is it just me?
Oh, man. I mean, it's so, to me, you get down into these temps, and I was saying yesterday, it doesn't matter really what kind of clothes you have, what kind of gloves or socks. I mean, you layer up, everything's popping and cracking, and, the vehicle is slow. I was like, uh-oh, I thought I might have had an issue this morning pulling out, but I think it was just still frozen. I mean, so yeah, just be careful. There's going to be a lot of runoff today from the grass and the yards and the trees. And as Dave said, there are going to be those spots that'll refreeze this evening. Everywhere across the state's going to be around 22 or below that. So, not 22 below, but 22 degrees or below that temperature throughout the state. So it's going to hard freeze again. And hopefully we'll just not have to worry about the power lines and those things. But again, you never know. We're not out of the clear here, and we won't be through the week as far as these freezing temps in the night and some thaw temps during the day. So.
Well, the one bright spot that we have here in southwest Mississippi, when the front comes through Thursday, by the way, fun note, there's a front coming through Thursday bringing more rain with it. But the low that night here, at least, is going to be around 37. Mm-hmm. That is the only night in the 7-day forecast where we don't crash well below the freezing point. So this is a problem we're going to be dealing with for the next 7 to 10 days, temperature-wise.
Yeah, well, I mean, it had ice in 47 counties in Mississippi out of the full number there. That's more than half of the state was iced in some way or another. National Guard been deployed, and governor has been on top of that. So I know it's one of those things. Again, we had a storm like this last year and the year before, but not nearly the ice. We've had winters. The last few years, I think 24 and 25 both had snow and those type. But this is the ice. This is the rough stuff, and I'm just hoping that everyone will just watch their top knot and make sure they take care of their errands while we're going through this, because it'll be in the rearview mirror. But we're not in the clear, and we're still going to have some road problems out there, especially in areas like Oxford and North. As we said yesterday, it looked like a war zone, man. I mean, there was just trees exploding everywhere.
Well, there's ice. Richard showed us yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, man, it was something.
And that is unfortunately going to be the case for a while, no matter what else gets resolved out of all of this. And we are seeing some resolutions, slowly but surely. And we're going to get to that in a moment, but I do want to call out a situation that they have over in Louisiana. Little perspective for you. Yeah, we got it rough. There are some people that have had it rougher. I-20 between Arcadia and Ruston, again, up in the north part of the state, up around where Louisiana Tech is in Ruston. A stretch of I-20 there. Motorists have spent 2 nights in a row stuck on the interstate.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
2 nights in a row. Last night was the second night. That's meteorologist Matt Jones had a picture of it. And actually showed it on his station up there and posted it on Facebook as well. Said that they have been stranded yesterday. He said they've been stranded on the interstate since yesterday and will have to spend a second night in their vehicles.
Wow.
So 2 days, 2 nights they have spent in their vehicle on the interstate, unable to get off.
Goodness
just
gracious.
Stuck.
I mean, trying to imagine that too is not fun. Being stuck in a car on an interstate, some remote area, obviously, where you can't get to. And the amount of snow that I saw over in Arkansas, I just hadn't heard as much, but it was a feet or 2 feet of it. It looked like in areas where it had just dumped. But here in Louisiana and Mississippi, that I can't imagine being stuck for 2 days in a car on a highway or an interstate.
Well, and if you think about it, one of the biggest dangers there is you're talking about, sub-freezing temperatures, obviously, with everything. Do you have 2 days worth of gas in your vehicle to idle and keep the heater going? I mean, there's a lot of things that become immediate problems in that situation. So, just wanted to tell you about that for perspective, because we got it rough. We got it bad in some parts of the state. It could still be worse.
Well, you could have an electric car,
No, well, that's a whole different problem right there.
That's something that I have not heard, and I have actually kind of looked around for this go-around, because the last couple of winter storms, especially the 2 year ago, we had those batteries were just popping and blowing up in the cars all over the place. If I remember, it may have been last year, but I haven't really heard anything about that. And that was one of the risks, with battery and electric cars, was the extreme temps. As long as you're within a range, they work fine. But when you start dipping down into the teens and such, seems to have a negative impact. But I'm glad I haven't heard of people stranded on the side of the road, because that was one a couple of years ago where you remember the highways all over the country. There were people walking. They had to abandon their cars and just walk.
Yep.
So happy that we're not in that situation Still rough. It's still a tough one.
And I think they have made some improvements since then.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the cars that were on the road then are still on the road now because, hey, money. But the new ones that they're selling, I think, are slightly different in the way they're put together to hopefully address that problem and other problems as well. But, yeah, that's the thing. If you're stuck on the interstate for 2 days, you're not getting to a charger. Yeah. Nobody can bring you a bucket of electricity to keep you going.
That's.
I mean, you can't get a gas can and fill it up with 50 watts and bring it over. You've got what you've got, and that's it until you get to a charger. That, to me, is one of the downfalls of the electric vehicles.
Always worries me a little. I've looked at a couple of them over the years, and they're impressive, at least. From the standpoint of they look cool, and you got this new technology, and there's a lot of bells and whistles in there that come with the newer vehicles. I've got an older 2013, obviously a FJ Cruiser. It doesn't have any kind of electronics in it, so I think I would kind of be blown away if I went into one of those new vehicles. I don't know if I could handle it. It would maybe too much for the senses. I'm kind of like driving a big red three-wheeler, basically, compared to everybody else right now.
Well, I want to go back in time, get a time machine, and get that old 60s step-side Ford my dad taught me to drive on. 3 on the tree, baby. I'd be styling right now if I had
either
that.
Had 4 on the floor or 3 on the tree, right?
Yep, 3 on the tree for me. Good days, good times, and you couldn't make that thing stop running with a sledgehammer.
No, I had a 76 Chevy, so I know what you mean.
Sledgehammer, by the way, also would not have put a dent in the hood. We continue on this Tuesday morning here on Mornings.
Let's go. Waking up the Magnolia State. Mornings with Richard Cross.
That's what it's here for.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, Super Talk, Mississippi Mornings. Just had a buddy of mine message me on Facebook and say that, man, it's cold outside. There's ice at the boat ramp. Now, if you knew him, you would understand he's not joking. He's out fishing.
He's going
I have
fishing.
no doubt.
Yeah.
He is breaking the ice to get out on the lake to go fishing.
Man, that's something I've done quite a bit to duck hunt. I've never done that to fish. And, that would be a new one for me. Now, I see the guys all the time on the res out there when it's 30s, and they're in their very good coveralls, and they look comfy, but I'm not sure I would be.
Now, let me just say this, though, about Chris, the guy that sent that to me. What's disturbing is you can't possibly figure out a way to make fun of him because every time he goes, he brings a boatload of fish back.
That's your best friend, right? I mean,
every time. He is an all-star at that. He really is. Well, we've got a little bit of progress to report on the power outages. Yesterday, I had to go get my sheet from yesterday.
I got to get back to my poweroutage.com or org.
There it is. It hasn't closed. It's been open the whole time for me. Yesterday morning, at this point, we were at 157,712 outages. It went up to about 161,000 throughout the morning, but right now, 140,186. That's about a 21,000 number drop from the peak yesterday. So that's some good progress for day one.
Definitely, man. I mean, and it's not easy work out there either right now, as you know. The temperatures are extremely cold. You still have ice everywhere. And in those areas that were heaviest hit, you're making progress, though. Making progress.
Yes, and that's what we want to see, and that's all we can hope for is to continue to make progress moving forward. Because, again, you have to remember, it's dangerous at any time to go out. We talked yesterday about the line crews and the people that go out and do this. they're going out to work on lines that are covered in ice, climbing poles and getting in the bucket truck and going up next to poles that are covered in ice, under tree limbs that are covered in ice. There are some challenges to getting this back on. And I think they're handling it quite well so far. And I suspect after Governor Reeves' announcement yesterday and some of the moves that they're making there, that we're going to see more rapid improvement.
Yeah, you still have it's pretty rough. Although not many people live in Sharkey and Issaquah County, there obviously that area is still going to be in the red right now. If you're looking at a color-coded map there, and Dave, that is an excellent site, the poweroutage.us. But the southern Delta counties are still going to be in the red right now outside of Yazoo County. Yazoo's made a little progress, and then you get back up there to the northern part of the state where we had talked about the transmission lines yesterday. And Benton and Tippa are still looking pretty in that 91% range. But they've made some progress east of there. So there is progress being made. Y'all just hold tight up yonder.
Yeah, it's I think everybody in Mississippi at one point, for one reason or another, almost all weather related, has gone through that experience of sitting there with bated breath, waiting to hear that hum.
Yeah.
Because things have cut back on. It is coming. No, nobody is ever going to say it's quick enough. You want it back on immediately, but that's just not practically possible. But we've got people out there working like you would not believe.
And it'll hit critical mass too. It's once we talked those transmission lines, once that gets up, then your distribution lines get hooked back in, and lots of power gets cut back on to these homes and communities and neighborhoods. So that'll make a big difference, as you'll see at some point. There will be critical mass and things will start popping back on. But we don't know when that is, as Davis said.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. We'll see a big jump at some point. That number is going to jump way down from where it is, just in one lump. That's when the transmission lines get back up. Now, having said that, that brings its own particular set of problems, because when those transmission lines energize and they start sending the power back to the substations, which then sends it out to the various places, you're still probably, I would say, going to have some loose wires lying around that they may have been dead this whole time and suddenly they're live. Mm-hmm. That's the really sneaky part about this. If you've gotten used to it and that line's dead, I'm not worried about that. Well, not forever. Not forever when the transmission line is down. So continue to treat every downed power line like it's live and it's going to kill you. Because if it's live, it's going to kill you if you touch it. There's no sense in mincing words about this. That's just the way it is. So until this gets completely sorted out, there are still some dangers to come, believe it or not, in this. Just keep that in mind.
Well, that, and if you are in the area of the Tippa EPA or the Northeast Mississippi EPA, you're going to see a lot of people out and about working hard to get your power back on. Just stay out of the way. Probably the best advice that can be given, if any can, because those are the two areas that have the most outages, and those are the two areas that have the largest outage percentage for the company or the Electric Power Association. So they're really trying to get some power back on for you guys, and just, again, be mindful of those folks out there working, because there's still ice everywhere, and I don't want you slipping and sliding and running into them.
Yeah, and Tippa County, oh, man. Have you seen all of the pictures that are circulating from Tippa? It looks like a bomb went off.
It does. Honestly, I've seen a lot of winters, but I've never seen oak trees and some of these hardwoods explode as I've seen the amount of debris that they've dropped. And we're in the Delta. I've been over there, and it's all hardwoods and softwoods. You don't have pine, but I've never really seen anything like that. Have you?
No. Now, apparently in other parts of the country, up in the north, That happens on a semi-regular basis. They're kind of used to it in a way. It doesn't happen every day, doesn't happen often, but it does happen. I don't recall it ever happening here.
No, I've been through a few, and I just, again, haven't seen that explosion of limbs. And everywhere you looked that was heavily hit and hardest hit, that's what it looks like. I mean, the trees are still up, but it looks like they basically just dropped half of their limbs. And maybe that was from all the rain that we had, and it gets in there and freezes and explodes. Be my best guess. I'm not a botanist or anything, but it is definitely a mess. Now, there will be a lot of firewood. So once you're done and all the lights are back on and you're looking for a little bit of a project, send the sun out there and start chopping up some wood. But that's the only thing I can think of at the moment.
My heart goes out to Tippa, though, because, as you know, Caleb Sailors broke the story on SuperTalk Mississippi News that they came out and said they were looking at weeks, not days, to get power back on for everyone. That doesn't mean power won't be on for anyone at all for weeks, but until they get this fully resolved, it will be weeks until everyone has their power back. Hopefully we can get all this cold weather, these Arctic air masses out of the way, and we can get back up in the 50s and 60s. That's a lot more bearable.
Yeah, we can
work with that.
Spring is around the corner. Baseball's around the corner. We need some warmer temps now. Huh?
Now, I do have to call you on something there. Spring being around the corner and baseball being around the corner are not as related as you think, because if you're not freezing to death, well, you're not practicing baseball at the right time. Baseball practice starts in the dead of winter now.
And you wear polyester, and you got metal bleachers to sit on, and it's just a wind tunnel. And it's the coldest place I've ever been in my life is sitting on riding the pine in a college baseball game.
Well, let me ask you this. Is it colder now when baseball practice starts compared to, say, 20 years ago, 30 years ago?
Well,
or is it about the same?
I don't know. I don't remember it being that cold, honestly, back when, in the 90s. It feels like the temps have shifted a bit to where February and March are getting much more of the intense cold. You get it kind of creeps back into January some. But, no, I don't remember really having those long stretches of cold. Now, there would be games where it would be a flurry. I remember we played Delta State one year at Ole Miss, and it was like a 1-0 game. I mean, nobody could score. It was freezing, and the wind was howling, and it was snowing, and we beat them by 1. But it was, I don't ever remember being colder than that in my life. And I've been duck hunting and wading in ice water. It just is something about it.
That, by the way, is a rock-solid golden way to tell that you need a new hobby. To me, that's my preference.
You're saying that's not very sociable, huh?
You're wading through ice water. In
the dark. Yeah, that's even better.
You know where you don't find waist-deep ice water? In your recliner at the house. That's my hobby right there. We continue on this Tuesday morning on Mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi right after this. Keep it here.
From the sea.
What's going on? Mornings with Richard Cross.
It is what it is.
Yes, it is. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community. CommunityBank.net is where you go for more information. Dave Hughes here, Lance in the booth. Did you see the cold weather is finally making it down to Florida?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that'll help the average temps drop, I'm sure.
This coming weekend, Tallahassee's going to hit 9. Jacksonville will hit 8. Even down all the way in Miami, 28 will be the low temperature that's coming up on Saturday. So they're going to finally get a taste of it down there as well. They're just not going to get all the ice and problems that we've had this week, which ultimately is a good thing. I'm glad to hear that, because I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy.
No. This is not stuff you wish on anyone here. It's just stuff you must endure.
Yeah, well, that's all you can do some days. They did keep health departments closed in various parts, mainly the northern half of Mississippi. They announced yesterday they were closed yesterday. 54 were closed yesterday. Today it's only 39 county health departments that are closed. You can go to the Mississippi Department of Health website and see exactly which ones they are, but basically the north half of the state is what we're talking about, where the health departments will be closed. If you're someplace and you're wondering because of the conditions if they're open, they're probably not. It's a good rule of thumb to go by.
If you still see ice out on the roads and stuff everywhere, I'd bet that they've taken precaution to say, hey, do not come in if it's not essential.
Yeah.
Be my guess. But, you might want to make a phone call if you've got power, or if your phone is charged. Before you go anywhere, I'd double check.
Yeah, because it's gonna be disappointing when you make your way over there through all of that. And we have, once again, a list as long as your arm of school closures for today. Again, most of them, not all of them, but most of them in the northern half of the state. Up in Tupelo and Oxford. Oxford is closed all week. Ole Miss is closed all week. Mississippi State, I believe I saw, is going to be back open. Is it today or tomorrow?
I didn't see the date, but I know that they kind of escaped it a bit over there in that portion, as some of our listeners have said. I think the Golden Triangle was looking pretty good this morning, as one of our reports came in, and Jason in Starkville has kept us on the edge there of what was going on in that neck of the woods. So, yeah, I believe they're ready to start teaching again.
Yeah, it's a mess. That's the best way to put it. It's a mess, and we still have a lot of time between us and normal again. As Kelly Bennett said yesterday when we were talking to her, we have to get to the new normal. I'm tired of new normals. How about you?
Yeah, I like the old normals. Huh?
It seems like every week we have a brand new normal, and the new normal is never as good as the old normal.
Well, I will say this, that, with the temperatures that have been here and as low as they have been, I need to know what those protesters, who's buying their gear for them, and what it is. I know that we had a suggestion yesterday, the Bern, B-E-R-N-E, coveralls, but I'm not seeing any of those folks in Bern coveralls up there. But they're definitely hot-blooded, I suppose, because I don't think I'd be that mad, if it was that cold. I'd probably find a nice fire to go to, or, like you said, a Stratolounger. I don't know.
I'm going to say something incredibly horrible here. I'm just bracing you up for it, Lance.
No, bring it on, man.
Stupid has insulating powers.
There's some fat around that head, huh?
Yes. If your head's fat enough, you don't feel the cold. You don't notice. The outer layers can freeze solid, and it never penetrates to the inside. We need to talk about what's going on in Minnesota at some point, because I have seen some ridiculous takes.
And this is the moment in time where you either make the decision to put this kind of stuff to rest, or you're going to see an increased and more violent protests as we continue. This has already been written in history once in this country. Go back and look at the 70s, thousands of bombings, and they didn't start by just bombing everything. They started with stuff like this.
Yeah.
So, there's history and a blueprint, and I'm not saying you got to come in and be an authoritarian, but at some point in time you got to have the ability to quell this, get back to business. Protests are fine as long as they're logical. They don't have this craziness attached to it. And if you have something to say, that's fine. This country allows that. But, man, you can't attack the feds. You can't be bringing guns to a protest. And, those things are just not acceptable. They never have been, and all of a sudden they are.
Well, my favorite thing, and this was passed by the legislature in Minnesota and signed by Governor Walz a couple of years ago, where it is illegal by state law in Minnesota to bring a firearm to a protest. It's specifically worded that way.
I just never, the takes on it have been fresh, obviously. You're going to get every crazy and every logical thought process on it, and that's one of the problems with social media. You get so much information. The reality is an individual, no matter what he did for a living or what, went to a protest with a gun and decided to square off somewhat with feds. Now, I don't know everything because there's obviously more than one side to a story, but that doesn't set up to be a good thing.
No, and obviously, judging by the results, it was not a good thing. No.
And unfortunately, I'm not rooting. None of us are rooting for any kind of problems, but when you go looking for them, they're going to find you.
I have seen some criticism already. Yesterday, they're pulling Greg Bovino with Border Patrol out of the area, sending Tom Homan in. Kristi Noem is taking a step back. They're changing some things. President Trump talked to Governor Walz yesterday and to Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, and worked out a deal. He'll start pulling some people back if they start handing over immigrants, which was the goal of this to begin with. And I'm already seeing people criticizing that as President Trump caving. We have really developed a lack of ability to think past the first layer of anything anymore. Let me explain something. This is January. In November, we have midterm elections. Do you want the final 2 years of the Trump administration to be him sitting there unable to do anything because we lost everything in November? Or do you make a move now to kind of calm this down and maybe get a little more control back so that we have a chance of winning and being able to continue the Trump agenda for another 2 years? Sometimes you have to make moves now based on what you want to see happen in 11 months, not what you want to see happen by today at 5 o'clock. And we've lost all sense of nuance on this. So I can see his reasoning for what he's doing. It makes sense. But we have to, I think at this point, if nothing else, we have to let President Trump cook. He has earned the right at this point to do what he's going to do. He's got reasons for everything he does. That's become apparent. But we have developed a group of people on the Republican side that wants everything to burn now. And if it doesn't, you're a failure and you're weak. The world doesn't work that way. It never has. And I think there's going to be some back and forth, some stepping back, some stepping forward in this whole situation before we see a final resolution to it. And if you're not okay with that, maybe politics isn't the thing you need to be spending time paying attention to, because you're going to get an ulcer.
Yeah, the old Texas two-step is what Lyndon called it, I think.
Yes.
And you're going to have a lot of that. There's deals being made. There's negotiations going on. A lot of things happening behind the scenes that we don't know about. But as we do know, Trump has been extremely effective in getting what he set out to get in most cases.
Yes. And the fact that President Lyndon Johnson came up with that term for it, the old Texas two-step. This isn't new.
No.
This is not remotely new in politics.
No, not at all.
So we have to just, boy, I cannot believe I'm going to say this because I'm barking all the way up the wrong tree. Mm-hmm. It's going to explode. We have to employ some critical thinking. Mm-hmm. Which is in very short supply right now.
There's a lot of emotion in deep supply. But the critical thinking and logical thinking has seemingly evaded a great segment of the population.
I would just like to point out, I think the timing was interesting that suddenly Walz and Frey got on the phone with Trump and started talking about how to work this out and calm it down. Less than 24 hours after they found the Signal chat channel where thousands, or multiple channels, it's a 1,000-person limit per channel, thousands of people in Minnesota had been organizing to track and dox and harass ICE agents and law enforcement agents there. And one of the ringleaders of it, they identified, was the lieutenant governor of Minnesota.
Good Lord.
And less than 24 hours later, all of a sudden, everybody's on the phone with Trump. What can we do to make this stop? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't believe in that level of coincidence.
There are no coincidences.
No. Bob Ross taught us that. There's happy little accidents. There are no coincidences. When we come back, you might have a happy accident that increases the number in your bank account when you check it on the app. Lottery.
In the
With Richard Cross.
Wake up.
Yes, do it.
Wake up. Come on. All right.
Super Talk, Mississippi. Wake up.
Yes, indeed. It's time to talk money with the Mississippi Lottery. Still no jackpot winners to report, including on the Lance Tolbert game, Mississippi Match 5. It's now up to $60,000 from last night. That's for tonight's drawing, $60,000. We'll take that. I would take that in a heartbeat. Yeah. Mega Millions up to $285 million, the estimated jackpot for tonight's drawing. If you took that in a cash lump sum, it'd be $128.6 million. Powerball up to $43 million now. I believe it was 30 yesterday, wasn't it? So that's growing quickly. Yeah. Estimated cash lump sum value $19.4 million. Lotto America drawing tomorrow, $14.05 million, the estimated jackpot there. Cash value $6.34. We're lighter on numbers than we usually would be because, as you know, the offices of the Mississippi Lottery were closed yesterday because, reasons, just like everything else was. But Lottery headquarters and the claim center open today. They're back open today. No reason to keep it closed there in their estimation. They do have a note that they put in to please travel safely, which is good advice for everyone right now, no matter what. Did have a couple of full of $5,000 winners. The $20 scratch-off ticket full of 5,000s. A Richton woman and a Prairie man both won how much, Lance?
You got me there. I was reading over here. The 5,000 one there?
Oh, the full of 5,000s ticket.
Yes,
Guess
sir.
how much each of those two people won yesterday? $5,000.
And, Prairie pops up regularly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a community there that I need to go visit. They're lucky.
They bought their ticket in Houston. So that's where they got their opportunity. Houston, Mississippi, and got $5,000 out of it. That ain't bad at all.
No.
We'll take that. So, go, if you got business with the Mississippi Lottery at their headquarters or their claim center, it's back open today. Don't forget to go grab the app, the Mississippi Lottery app. You can check your tickets to see if you've got a winner, see all the latest promotions going on. You can enter tickets into the second chance promotional drawings because just because you didn't win the first time doesn't mean you don't have a winning ticket. It just may take a little bit. It's time release, like Dristan. Do they make Dristan anymore?
Dristan, that's what I hadn't heard in a long time.
Remember that?
Yeah. Man, I was like, what, did you just say Dristan? Yeah.
Dristan, yes.
Man,
I haven't seen Dristan in a minute.
No.
But that was its claim to fame. They marketed it as it was a time release capsule.
Yeah. Slow release capsule there. You can't take too much of them, I guess, at one time.
Yeah. So I don't know if they make it anymore, but your lottery tickets may have the Dristan effect. It may drip some money into your account later with a second chance drawing, even if you didn't win anything the first go around. So hang on to those, get the app, and enter them in that second chance drawing. Because I would hate for you to miss out on some money that you could otherwise have.
Oh, you need it, too.
Don't we all?
You need that money.
Holy cow, don't we all? But, sometimes all you can do is just do your best to give it a shot and see what happens. I do have a quick notice before we go to news. We have Fox News and SuperTalk Mississippi News on the way. Just saw a notice during the break on Twitter, X. It's going to be Twitter till the day I die.
And for me,
by
it
the
seems
way.
to be, too, as well.
For those of you who cling tightly to the belief that a giant hydrogen bomb that's been going off for millions of years, hundreds of millions of miles from you, has an impact on your life, apparently Neptune has now entered Aries.
Okay.
Just thought you'd want to know.
Yeah, we're in that stage now.
Yeah, apparently, according to that poster, that has never happened before in the lifetime of anybody currently existing on the planet.
Okay.
So it's a unique event. I am so sick of unique events.
They're all unique now. The internet tells you so.
Well, I saw something the other day that said, you know, we're living in unprecedented times. We have an unprecedented event we're dealing with. That's every day now. We're sick of it.
just have a normal day once here and
I
there.
would like a precedented day now, please.
Yeah, this one happened last year. I remember it just like that.
I remember. I have a reference. I know what to do. No, we're just making everything up as we go, for better or worse. Mostly worse. As I said, SuperTalk News, Fox News first, then SuperTalk Mississippi News. And then hour number 2 of mornings, Brad White from MDOT will join us. Yeah, they're busy right now. We'll be talking to Brad next hour. So I want you to stick around for that. On mornings, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. We continue with hour number 2 of the show right after this on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Reaching across the state and across the aisle. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back. Super Talk Mississippi mornings, presented by Community Bank, where they are there for every part of your financial journey. If you're looking to manage your personal finances, their banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. If you're ready to grow your business, they offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. If you're dreaming of a new home, the mortgage specialists are there to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. They're more than just a bank. They're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Got some updates, kind of updates we don't like to give. Just saw one notice from about an hour ago that nursing home in Tippah County, which we were talking about, that's the county where they said it would be weeks instead of days before they get the power fully on for everyone. There's a nursing home up there. It's being reported that their backup generator went down. No power, no heat, no water. And calling for people to help, and there are already folks on the way from what I understand, so that's good. But that's what I was talking about last hour when I said the problems are not done surfacing yet. We still have things that are going to pop up. The other update that we don't want to give, but we have to, the death toll from this storm in Mississippi is now up to 2. I don't know if you saw this. A man was found deceased in the driveway of a Hinds County home. St. Thomas Parkway in Bolton. The 66-year-old person left his vehicle at some point Saturday night after it went off the road. So he was out driving, lost control, and it went out into the ditch. So he got out to walk. They don't know if he ran off or his vehicle just broke down. He was found about a mile away from his vehicle He had been there all Saturday night and Sunday morning. When they found him, he was dead Sunday morning. Here is a fantastic example of why we say in these situations, and we've been saying it, don't get out unless you have to if you're in one of these badly affected areas. Because one thing goes wrong and suddenly everything goes wrong. And we don't want, I don't want another story like this to report. I don't. But we are now up to 2. The total for the country, by the way, is 49, the people that have lost their lives in this storm. I don't know if you saw, there was a couple of people in Texas, and they died in sledding accidents.
Man.
Yeah. There have been several people. I counted 4 yesterday. One of them a retired New York police officer in New York City, and some other folks who died of a heart attack trying to shovel snow. Man. Because that is a very strenuous activity. That's why you have to be so careful in these situations across the board. And it is to the point to where up in several states in the Northeast, they're putting out safety announcements, public service notices that, don't get out and try to shovel the snow because you may have a heart condition you're not aware of. That's where we're at. So there are a lot of different problems that come out of all of this that you don't immediately think about. It's not the first thing that pops in your mind, but it exists. And it's something that will affect you directly if you don't pay attention and do what you're supposed to do, which in a lot of cases is nothing.
Yeah, in this case, the best thing to do is just hunker down and wait it out if possible.
Yes, if possible, just sit tight. It took me a long time in my life to realize that because I used to be one of those run around with your hair on fire people. Mm-hmm. If something's going on, I got to do something right now, immediately. Something has to be done. This has to be addressed. That's the reason I don't have hair anymore. Mm-hmm. It burned off. But it took me a long time to gain the wisdom that sometimes the best thing to do is nothing.
Yeah, procrastinating was invented for a reason.
Yeah, and it's not even, it's targeted procrastination, we'll call it. Because sometimes the best thing to do is just sit tight and wait it out, and the problem will take care of itself because you're running, in my estimate, 50-50 odds of making it worse if you're running around with no purpose.
Well, we had a positive story yesterday. Caleb Sailors broke on the first responders going on the successful rescue mission in northeast Mississippi Monday morning as a hunter had fallen into Tom Bigby River. And within an hour, they had him in an ambulance, and it looks like he'll make a full recovery. But imagining, how cold that guy was. I've been there before, but not in the temps we were dealing with yesterday. So a positive story of a successful recovery, but, again, be careful, folks. I mean, this is not stuff we're used to, and getting out in it is just deadly.
Now, after having run through those stories, I do want to point something out, and I'm so glad you brought up Caleb's story about that successful rescue, and that's fantastic. You don't hear about the good stories very rarely. Great job by Caleb of getting that and getting it out there. You don't hear the good stories. You hear the bad ones incessantly, endlessly. You are bombarded with the bad stories. There's plenty of good that's always happening too, but as we have talked about many times, it has been a truism in journalism all the way back to the newspaper days in the early 1900s. If it bleeds, it leads. We always report the bad news, right? That's what you're going to do nonstop. And boy, has that ramped up in recent years. But we don't hear those good stories. We don't hear about the neighbor who helps the neighbor because their lights are out and they're freezing to death, and they go over and get them and bundle them up and take them back to their house and warm them up. You don't hear those stories. You don't hear the people clearing the driveway out because somebody's about to have a baby and needs to get to the hospital. No matter what condition the roads are in, the baby ain't waiting. The baby doesn't care. You don't hear about those stories. Richard was telling that one yesterday, that there were people out there clearing a road in Oxford because an ambulance needed to get through. We don't talk about those kind of stories enough. And again, a lot of times we don't hear about them.
Well, as you were stating about the nursing home, you have people already in this state, I am sure, beelining it over there to help in whatever way possible that they can. And we are the hospitality state, and it is in some way or another we're related. Whether it's as your neighbor or in blood, or you go to church with them, or you work. I mean, and there's not many degrees of separation, and so it's always nice to have positive stories mixed in. Because there are great things going on and great people out there doing them. And again, the line workers, I want to say that again today, the first responders, all of our highway patrol police. I mean, to have two folks, and that's what we're dealing with right now. Every life is precious, undoubtedly, but with the type of storm we just went through, to know that two is where we stand. I hope that's where we stay. I'm proud of Mississippi and extremely thankful for all of those that are out there doing the hard work to get everybody whole again, which will be some time, but thank you so much for the things you're doing. And they're unseen in most cases.
And I will say this, and you can do it anonymously. That's fine, because it's part of the reason we don't hear about it. But we need those good stories.
Yes, sir.
If you've got one from this weather event along these lines, I don't care how small it is, text and tell us about it. We'd love to spread the word. 601-879-4395 on the C Spire text line. Again, don't have to name names. You can refer to it as I heard or somebody down the road or whatever. That's fine. We just need to make sure that we pay attention to that, because we talk all the time, and you used the phrase just a moment ago that we are the hospitality state. Mm-hmm. If all you do is keep up with the headlines, you're wondering why we have that name. You don't hear a lot of evidence about it. Mm-hmm. Not as much as you should. This is an opportunity to shine a light on some of the good stuff, I think. So if you know of something like that, Lance is watching it as always. We'd love to hear. I don't care how small, I don't care how big, I don't care what it involved. Would love to hear some good stories. Make us feel a little bit better about this entire situation. We're up against a break, and when we come back, Mr. Brad White joins us, shovel in hand. I have no doubt that it's that kind of week in Mississippi. We're going to talk about road conditions when we continue on Mornings here on Super Talk Mississippi. Keep it here.
Mornings with Richard Cross. What's up?
Let's get the show going.
Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back, Super Talk Mississippi Mornings on a Tuesday morning. Dave Hughes here. And joining us now, the Executive Director of the Mississippi Department of Transportation, a busy man right now, Mr. Brad White, in the big chair in the studio there. How you doing this morning, Brad?
Hey, Dave, I'm good. Hope you are.
Doing fantastic, doing better than a lot of people out there, and I would include your crew in that, because they have a monumental task they're dealing with right now.
Look, I'll start off by bragging on our people. I mean, we've got a lot of our folks that have experienced in their personal lives that their homes are without power. They've got family at home without power, some without water. Many are having to be picked up and shuttled out to the work sites in order to help remove trees and try to treat the ice and do all of the things that all comes with being a part of public service. So I have nothing but praise for our folks. This is a storm that we began at the Department of Transportation planning several days out beforehand, mobilizing people around the state where we thought we would need them, pre-treating bridges and roads. This was the largest pre-treatment effort in the agency's history. We put out over 200,000 gallons of what they call brine, which is a substance that's supposed to help battle against the ice, and in many areas it helped. Obviously in North Mississippi, where we had such extreme weather, it wasn't able to help to the degree we'd like. We've put out over 1,000 tons of salt, bag salt and stuff over the part of North Mississippi and the Delta. We've logged over 20,000 man hours just over the past weekend from a crew of about 500 people. Today, as the governor said yesterday, we're expecting about a 3-day window where temperatures will get above freezing and we'll have some sunlight. And when you're dealing with ice, that's the best friend you can have, is sunlight and above freezing temperatures, because you can't plow ice. It gets so packed in. It's not as easy as snow to get out of the way. And so hopefully that's going to help. We're sending extra crews from our central Mississippi offices and south Mississippi offices north to assist our other crews that have been working in the Delta and across North Mississippi. So hopefully over the next 3 days, you're going to see us be able to really re-engage our plowing operations. We've been coordinating, spent a lot yesterday with our folks doing some reconnaissance work and working with the power companies to try to have a systematic approach at the work that they're trying to do along with the work we're doing. So much of our issues that we've experienced in areas is where we have down trees. They're entangled in power lines. So, it's not really wise to run up through the middle of those with equipment or chainsaws until you know that the lines are not live. So hopefully today the weather is going to finally get to a place to where we'll be able to start seeing some real positive movement. But I'm really proud of our crews. I mean, we had a plan to begin with. They implemented the plan, and it made a really big difference.
Well, and, several things I want to pull out of there, what you were just saying. And one of those, let's start with the last one first, which is that, you have to work very closely with the power companies and the crews that are coming in to do this. This is not just a one-department job. Everybody has to be on the same page, don't they?
It's a team sport, absolutely. And that's one of the things I want to praise Governor Reeves for. He this week has pulled together all of the sister agencies. We've had wonderful coordination between our department, between DPS, between MEMA, between the National Guard now. I was at a meeting yesterday at MEMA that they were kind enough to include me at, where we had the Adjutant General, the Director of MEMA, the Governor, his staff. This has been an all-hands-on-deck effort, and the leadership that's been provided has really made a difference. Being able to coordinate with them as well as the power companies, I think, we'll be able to tackle this. But I will say that I don't know that everybody fully appreciates the degree to which this was a very significant and unusual storm. I mean, President Trump issued an executive order for over a dozen states. I'm on a group chat with my counterparts in the surrounding states, and from Texas all the way up to New England, we've had states that have experienced this and have experienced the same type of stuff we've had. So normally, you're able to coordinate, and the power companies are just like us and share crews where we would send people to states that needed help when we were unaffected. This is something that's impacted not just our state but a region, and that's made a difference as well.
Now, you also mentioned the National Guard. We got the announcement yesterday in the executive order that Governor Reeves was activating the Mississippi National Guard to help out. That's going to speed things up for you a little bit, isn't it, in clearing out the roads?
Well, I think they're going to help mainly in traffic control and assisting getting the resources that the public needs, whether it be the local emergency management people and stuff out to the people. I'm sure they'll do anything that they're going to be called on to do, but I'll leave that to the Adjutant General, and he does a fantastic job. General Ginn is one of the most qualified people for that position, and we're very lucky to have him where he is.
This entire thing is kind of like working a sliding puzzle. You remember those where you have to slide the tiles around in the frame until you make the picture. They can't get the power on until the roads are clear. The roads can't be cleared until the power company verifies that those lines tangled up in the trees aren't live. It's how hard is it to find a point to where you can finally get some traction going?
Well, I mean, I think we're making a dent. I just think we need to manage expectations. I mean, we've got crews in parts of North Mississippi and the Delta that'll go through a route cutting trees out of the road just to have the ice break more limbs, and they'll get a mile down the road and turn around and there's other limbs and trees back in the road due to the weight of the ice. And that's the reason I think that a lot of the improvement in weather that we're going to have over the next 3 days will help tremendously in doing that. But this is one of those things that one thing Mississippi gets right is disasters. We know how to do it, unfortunately, because we've had our share of it. And when the weather's at its worst, when things like this happen, we seem to be at our best. And we've got a lot of really good folks that know what they're doing on the ground, not just from MDOT, but with the power companies, the linemen that are out, the leadership from the other agencies, MEMA, the Guard, et cetera. And I want to praise the public. I mean, we've seen a lot of cooperation for the most part in North Mississippi and the Delta of people staying off the roads. There have been some that disregard that. Our goal has been to make our roadways passable, and there's a big difference between being passable and being safe. If they're expecting everything to look the way it does in mid-July, they're going to be disappointed. That's just not possible in what we've had. I mean, we've had 48 hours or more of consistently below freezing temperatures. And that just the ice just is a different animal to try to attack. But to give you a picture of what we're dealing with, when you look across the affected area of Mississippi of this storm, MDOT has over 15,000 miles of lane miles of highway to contend with in that area. We've got over 3,000 bridges in that area to contend with, and we've got a maintenance force of about 500 people that have been out there trying to do that, and as I said, many of whom have experienced damage and loss of power and things at their own homes. So this has been it's a pretty large task to have, but it's one that I think our folks are proving that they're up for, and I'm really proud of the work that they're doing.
Well, let's go back to what you said, because this is so important about managing expectations. You were talking about, and I saw the announcement in the news when you were doing it before the storm got here, taking and brining a lot of the roads, putting out salt and everything else. And I worry that sometimes people think that when you say you're going to do something, it's like a magic pill. It's a magic solution, and we'll have no problems now. And then if it doesn't work out that way, everyone's expectations lead them to get frustrated because it didn't work out to be perfect. Is that a danger? How do we combat that?
Well, a lot of times the best way to combat it is not to read the Facebook comments. You know, I mean, we always have a few keyboard cowboys that think they know everything that get on there and mouth off about stuff that they're just completely ignorant about. But for the most part, I mean, we've experienced nothing but cooperation from local officials and from the public. Most of the feedback we've gotten has been positive, where people appreciate what our folks are doing. And appreciate what the power companies and the other individuals that are out combating this and trying to get all of our lives back to business as normal. For the most part, you've got a lot of understanding people that recognize this is a severe, significant storm, and it's not the effects of which will not be fixed overnight. But again, the good news is we've got sunny weather for 3 days, and we're going to try to cut hay while the sun's shining, and I feel like that by the time we get to the weekend, we'll be in a much different place than we are now.
Can you stick around through the break? We're up against
Sure.
the break.
Sure.
Brad White, Executive Director of the Mississippi Department of Transportation. That's a busy crew of people this week, and if you see them, tip your hat to them. Give them a thank you, because trust me, they are earning it 1,000,000 times over. We'll continue with Brad right after this on Mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
From the Sebring.
Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Pour yourself a cup of coffee and get the Magnolia State's most important news of the day. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings on Super Talk, Mississippi. Dave Hughes. Brad White, the executive director of the Mississippi Department of Transportation, in the big chair there in the studio. Glad to have him here this morning. And let's get into the topic that you are tired of being asked about, I have no doubt. Everybody wants to know, well, when is this going to be done? When are we going to be through with this and everything will be back to normal? The answer, I'll go ahead and answer for Brad, when it gets done. That's the only possible answer to that question. But I will ask you in more general terms. Are we talking about days, weeks, months? What are we looking at before we feel like we've got a firm handle on this and most things are back to functional?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different factors that play into that, some of which we don't know yet. You know, there's some unknown unknowns out there. As I said, the good news is beginning today. Well, let me back up and say this. I want to remind everybody, yesterday was the first day after the event. And so beginning today, you're going to have temperatures that get above freezing for the first time since the beginning of the event. We're going to have sunshine, which is a big help for the first time. We had some of that yesterday, although it's stayed below freezing. So for the next 3 days, we've got an opportunity that crews can get out, coordinating with the power companies, coordinating with the Guard and with MEMA and other first responders, as well as those on the ground in the local communities, the local law enforcement and local public works crews, and begin to work together. So much of this is going to be hand in glove with one another, trying to get things open and trying to open the roadways, remove the ice, remove the debris. And then, of course, when all of that's done, you're still looking at the recovery efforts of the true debris removal and other things that will be factored into that. So I really would be scared to guess. I mean, I know that efforts are going to be underway today that I think will start making major impacts, and I believe 3 days from now we'll be in a much different place than we are now. Until then, you know, it's going to require some patience. It's going to require a lot of teamwork and coordination and people just staying calm and seeing it through.
Well, and I think you bring up a great point. Yesterday was the first full day after the event happened, after the weather came through. And while you did get out and get some work done, a lot of yesterday was also devoted to assessing the situation and see where you needed to divert resources, right?
A lot of reconnaissance, a lot of working with the power companies, a lot of determining where to begin and where it would make the most sense to do that. You know, yesterday with everything staying below freezing, there wasn't an opportunity to do a whole lot of plowing because, again, what we're facing in these areas is ice, and that's a much different substance than to deal with snow and with other things that they may see, because that stuff hardens, it packs in. When temperatures stay below freezing, as long as it has, it gets even more difficult, and you just can't plow it. Today, with the weather's cooperation, I think you're going to see some of that begin to melt, some of it turn to slush, some of it get to a state in which our plows will begin to work to begin removing it. And like I said, hopefully within 3 days from now, we're going to be in a much different spot than we are now. But this has been a big undertaking, and I'm real proud of the work we did. As I mentioned earlier, I mean, this has been the biggest response to a storm that the Department of Transportation has ever had. And I think the level of preparation that our district level crews put into this has been phenomenal. This started a week before everything came into being, where we were meeting with the National Weather Service at MDOT headquarters, patching in all of our district leadership, looking at where the weather was going to be the worst, mobilizing crews, making sure equipment was gassed up and oiled up and ready, making sure that we had the materials that we needed. And in areas where we could, we began pre-treating the roadways to try to lessen the effects of the storm as best we can at record levels. I mean, like I said, over 200,000 gallons of brine was put out in these areas. To date, we put out over 1,000 tons of salt with all of our equipment on the roads, with all of our people working. So I feel good about the direction we're heading, and I think we'll see a big difference by the end of the week.
Well, and another thing that I think sometimes we forget, because we're used to dealing with tornadoes and hurricanes and other types of severe weather here, because that's usually what we have to deal with. An impactful severe winter storm like this is a bit of an anomaly, and as a result, equipment-wise, we're not as geared up for this kind of event as some of the northern states who deal with this every winter. It's a different situation for us, isn't it?
Well, we've got more equipment than you may think, but again, I go back to the fact that when you're dealing with ice, you can't plow ice. So even when you look at across, and I'm on the tech string, like I said, with my counterparts in all of these other states in our region, and they're facing the same thing. This isn't some situation that only exists in Mississippi. If you look at I-20 through parts of Louisiana, if you look at the interstates and four-lane highways and other parts that have experienced the same type of weather we've had, that have had temperatures that stayed below freezing, they're battling the same thing. And you know, it may take a little more time than what we want, but I'm very confident that we'll be able to get everything back open to the degree that we're used to, and do it in a good time period. Like I said, to date, we've been able to keep all of the interstates passable. We've been able to keep all the 4 lanes passable. We've worked on our 2-lane highways that experience a lot of commercial traffic to the best we can. Passable is not necessarily safe. It's just meant to keep commerce and emergency vehicles getting through. But this has been a true significant storm, and it's not one that's going to be cleaned up and immediately eradicated overnight. But we have top-notch professionals on the ground dealing with it from across the board, from our people to the power companies to the other agencies that I mentioned. And I feel confident, weather permitting, that we're going to see a lot of difference in the coming days.
Well, all of those crews, your crew, everybody else, the power companies, the National Guard, everyone out working hard. But the average person, is there anything they can do to help this process and make it a little bit easier?
Well, staying off the roads helps. I mean, that's a message that everybody from myself to the governor and others have been preaching since before the storm, especially at night. I mean, when temperatures go back below freezing, I mean, somebody that's out that doesn't need to be out, when they get out there and get stuck or stranded, I mean, it just complicates things across the board. We don't need sightseers. We don't need people traveling unnecessarily. I recognize that there are some that need to travel, and that's the reason that we've been out trying to make sure that there's a passable lane for them to be able to do that. But that to me would be the biggest thing that they could do.
Yeah, because if they're out there, they're in the way. If they get in trouble, that takes away resources from getting everything back open in the way it should be. And even if they don't, they're just in the way, for lack of a better term, right?
Right.
So keep that in mind. I know you're tired of hearing that, but you're going to keep hearing it until everybody heeds it in the areas where it applies. We're not talking about down on the Gulf Coast. They're having a good time road-wise compared to North Mississippi.
Central Mississippi is open for business in the Jackson area. I mean, the MDOT headquarters downtown was open at 8 o'clock yesterday, business as usual. And that's why we've been able to relocate our crews from Central and South Mississippi to the northern part of the states and the Delta in order to help our other crews that have been on the ground. So we've got all available resources focused on this area, and I believe we'll see a big difference. But again, to paint you a picture of what the area looks like, the affected area, we're talking about over 15,000 lane miles of highway or interstate. We're talking about over 3,000 bridges. This is a large swath of land in Mississippi that's been impacted by this, and it's not going to be cleared up overnight.
All we can do is hold on tight until we get to the end of this particular rodeo, but we got some good cowboys hard at work with the Mississippi Department of Transportation out there working hard every day and doing so safely as well. I want to mention that. And Brad, on behalf of the entire state, when you talk to them, thank them for what they're doing, because as you said, they've got problems at the house, and they got in a vehicle and left them to deal with it so they could come help you. And I think we need to make sure we give a proper amount of credit for having the kind of people that are willing to do that for the greater good of the people of Mississippi.
Yeah, I mean, they put our best foot forward. You know, Governor Barber used to tell the story about after Katrina, when we were trying to dispatch all of the first responders to the coast to help. It was the MDOT maintenance crews that were tip of the spear with bulldozers and chainsaws opening up a lane of Highway 49 for all the Highway Patrol Guard and others to be able to get down there. So I'm real proud of our folks, and they do a wonderful job, and they do it by, as you said, leaving a lot of problems at home to take care of the public's interest.
Well, you're doing a good job yourself, sir. Let me just say that if no one said it to you today.
Best thing I can do is stay out of the way most of the time.
Yeah, I get that feeling in my life sometimes, too. You get better results if you just let everybody, carry on with what they know needs to be done. Brad White, the Executive Director of Mississippi Department of Transportation. Great job so far, but the real work now begins. Keep us updated on how things are going. We'll continue on mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi right after this. Keep it here.
Take a deep dive into the news and debates driving the day, all on your ride to work. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. You can head over there and find out more about what they can do for you. We have all progress is good progress, Lance, so we're going to brag on progress. Told you a little over an hour ago that the power outage number was 140,533. It's now 140,309. I know in the grand scheme of things, a little over 200 people's power being restored doesn't sound that impressive, but every step forward is a step forward. So we're going to brag on it. We're going to take it.
Well, that and they could probably tell us, on the text line whose power just came back on. And so it's happening. It's going to be slow, like Brad said. It'll be a few days, hopefully, but today being that window where you got some thawing temps that are going to happen, and that'll make it easier.
Well, and I think, we talked about this earlier, you're also going to see at some point a huge surge of power going, and the number is going to drop by a big chunk once they get the main transmission lines back up and running. We talked to Julia yesterday with Tennessee Valley Authority. They're working on that. Because there's a lot of places, if the lines leading from the substation to your house are all fine, you still don't have power. So a lot of those are going to be re-energized at some point. That's going to be a big chunk. And that is really step one, because these are dangerous temperatures to not have a reliable method to stay warm. I know I'm stating the obvious there, but it's the truth. The governor announced yesterday we have 61 warming centers open around the state for people to go and warm themselves up. I know at Ole Miss, I believe it's the Student Union building they set up as a warming center because it had power throughout this. And we've got those all over the place, and I would recommend if you are cold, if you don't have any other way to get warm, take a look at that. Check into that. Find a warming center near you. Head over there, because you don't even have to stay there. If you can just go in for a couple of hours and get that core body temperature up and get warmer, that'll go a long ways.
Yeah, one of our listeners, too, had mentioned something that they had learned from folks in Alaska and said that, if you have a candle in your car, that it is enough to keep you from freezing. It made me think, if you've got a bathroom or something and you got a bunch of candles, and you're in that situation where you just do not have any heat, I would say get in a confined area, make sure you don't have anything that can catch fire, but that may give you a little reprise from the absolute bitterness of 15 degrees and frozen. That's not a lot, but it may be something. And as Kelly mentioned yesterday, huddle up, make a house party tent inside the den or in a small room, and just do the things necessary to get through the next 3 days.
Well, and you can take, let's say you got an old coffee can or you got a metal bowl of some kind. You can put that over a candle and it will radiate heat. Mm-hmm. Now, you have to be extremely careful when you're doing those kinds of things. Because you can wind up with a fire very easily if you don't do that properly. So don't do that unless you feel confident that you can, do it well and keep it under control. But that is an option because we have people in Mississippi who are kind of at that point. They need an option of some kind.
Yeah. And with no relief definite in sight either. Brad and the crew are working night and day to get this done, but it's a big job.
The Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks announced yesterday that 9 state parks in North Mississippi are closed. A lot of these closure notifications, you think to yourself, well, yeah, but you have to let everybody know just in case. The parks are closed. Power and water outages, they included the Waldoxie State Park in Holly Springs, J.P. Coleman State Park in Iuka, the Tishomingo State Park in Tishomingo, the Trace State Park in Pontotoc County, the Tom Bigby State Park in Tupelo, the George P. Kosser State Park in Oakland, the Hugh White State Park in Grenada, the John W. Kyle State Park in Sardis, and the Leroy Percy State Park in Hollandale, all closed. And they went ahead and canceled, if you've reserved a cabin or a space at one of those parks, they went ahead and canceled all of the reservations through Monday. Starting yesterday all the way through till Monday, February 2nd, everybody will get a refund automatically if you had a reservation at one of those parks, which kind of gives you some idea of a timeline they're looking at before things get a little bit back to normal. They're saying, we'll look at it again in a week and see where we're at. But for now, let's give it a week. Let's just go ahead and cancel all of that and move forward. Coming up, we've got news from Fox News, SuperTalk Mississippi News, and then the final hour of mornings on this Tuesday morning right after this. Keep it here.
Sumner to Summit to Summerall. Richard has something for you. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back to Morning Super Talk Mississippi, and as always, Lance right on the nose with our bumper music because we welcome now the man himself, the Commissioner of the Mississippi Department of Agriculture, Andy Gipson, my buddy. How you doing this morning, Commish?
Oh, doing good. Cold, very cold. A little tired. Made a trip to Oxford yesterday, but other than that, we're doing good, and we all need to be praying for the folks up in North Mississippi. I promise you, it's like a war zone today.
Well, and we'll get to the big thing that you're pushing in just a moment because it is so valuable and it's so needed. But let's talk about your trip up to Oxford, up to the area just a little bit. Tell us about your experience getting up there and getting back.
Well, we loaded up a four-wheel drive pickup truck with food. I got a call early yesterday morning from the shelter in Lafayette County in Oxford, and they were running out of food for the 200 folks that were there at the time. So we loaded up and got on the road. We decided to go 55. We felt like that would be the best route to Batesville, then hang a ride on Highway 6. And the road was fine till you get to Grenada. North of Grenada to Batesville, I can tell you it's no man's land. You don't want to be on that road unless you absolutely have to. It's passable, but there's so many 18-wheelers and hills and slipping and sliding. But we made it through there very slowly. It took an hour to get from Grenada to Batesville, and then or maybe an hour and a half. But once we got on 6, they were able to plow that. The interstate has ice 3 inches thick on it. It's black ice, frozen. And there's one little trail you can follow on 55 Grenada to Batesville, but it's ice. And I would imagine this morning it's worse than it was yesterday afternoon. But Highway 6 was good, passable all the way to Oxford. Then we took 7 back through Water Valley to the interstate, and it was passable yesterday evening. Again, I want to echo what everybody has said. If you don't have to be out traveling, don't travel. We just got a little taste of that. But we were able to make it to the shelter and delivered enough to feed about 500 meals worth of food there. And it is warm in that Lafayette Elementary School. And I'm praying for everybody who is there and many who couldn't make it to the shelter. It's a bitter cold morning, and there's a lot of work. I can tell you it is. It's like a war zone up in North Mississippi right now. It is really, really bad. A lot of work to do, a lot of prayers needed, but we've got to put feet to our prayers.
Well, we've been referring to it from the pictures and the videos that we've seen. It looks like a bomb went off in a lot of places up in North Mississippi, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, people can't get out of their driveways, their homes. If they get to the store has no power. There's no way to get fuel at the gas station, lack of power. So it's going to take, days and weeks to get folks back to something like normal here. And in the meanwhile, we all need to do what we can do to help get them what they need to survive and to make it through this.
Well, and one thing I want to point out that people may have missed, and I want to make sure we focus on it, you talking about your trip up and your trip back in a four-wheel drive truck. You weren't driving a little small front-wheel drive vehicle. It takes a four-wheel drive truck to make it through some of those areas, doesn't it?
It does. And I would not recommend anybody, even in a truck with a four-wheel drive that particular roadway if you don't have to be out or if you're not delivering emergency supplies. I know that there are a lot of families that have children that are trapped, young people trapped at the campus at Ole Miss and other places around North Mississippi. So people are traveling, getting them home, getting them supplies. But if you don't have to be out and about, you need to stay close to home until this ice is dissipated. Maybe today will be the day. Most of it will melt. We pray that, but it's going to be a while.
Well, and this brings us back to something that you've organized, that you're putting together, that ties into the reason for your trip yesterday to take that food up there. We think about that when hurricanes happen, when tornadoes happen. It might not have been front of mind with a lot of people with this situation, but the need is still there for basic non-perishable supplies up there. Those people in North Mississippi need help, and you're trying to help them get that, right?
That is correct. We are doing what we have done for several emergencies in the past when we've had disaster situations. We've opened the Fairgrounds Armory, the old National Guard Armory, the old building there on Mississippi Street, which runs through the fairgrounds. It is open for donations for basic supplies. You wouldn't think in this cold weather, bottled water, but people don't have running water now. The water lines are frozen in North Mississippi, and a lot of the water companies, their generators don't work or their power is out, so they're not able to pump water. So people need bottled water to drink. They need non-perishable food items, canned goods, snacks, things that are packed, that are shelf stable. And we are taking those donations at the Armory on the fairgrounds every day this week, Tuesday through Friday, 9 o'clock a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. We are partnering with MEMA, We are actively in touch with MEMA, finding out what needs they know about, and we are helping get these products where they need to go. There's a shelter in the Delta that we'll be traveling to today. But we've had so many people reach out and pour into this to try to help our neighbors in North Mississippi. I want to thank specifically my friends at Country Meat Packers that donated just caseloads of sausage and other meat products that are frozen. They stayed frozen, by the way, all the way to Oxford yesterday. And for folks at Mr. Turkey Leg that comes to the state fairgrounds, they donated a lot of hamburgers and buns. But what we need from the public is non-perishable food items that will stay shelf stable and be able to feed people in these affected areas for days and days to come. I expect Tippah County, Alcorn County will be traveling there later this week. But bring what you can. Get with your church. Get with your local community. Bring what you can. Bring it to the fairgrounds, to the armory, and our folks will help you get it unloaded there, and then we will pack it up. If you can box it, that would be helpful. Not a bunch of loose items. If you can bring it a box full of something, that'll help us move it where it needs to go more efficiently. So thanks to everybody who's helping. We did this after the Rolling Fork storms and Amory storms, and we're very proud to be able to do it again in this situation.
Well, and you mentioned bottled water and non-perishable food, and one thing that a lot of people won't think about, paper products would be helpful too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Paper products, paper plates, baby diapers, baby formula, and don't forget can openers, just old-fashioned can openers. A lot of people don't have the ability to open a can without that old-fashioned can opener. That's something that's helpful. But anything that you would think about taking camping, that's the situation that we need to be addressing here. There are folks who are going to be living in a camp style in their home, even without power for a while. If you have a propane cook stove or bottles of propane, we're delivering those to help people cook, what they need to make it through this. And it's looking like, as I said, it's going to warm up a little today. Some of this ice will melt, but they're telling us probably not all of it will. So people will still have a hard time getting out of their driveways and their roads to get help. So we want to help get food to them every way that we can.
And the other thing that you have to remember is even if it was a perfect world and everybody could get out and go about their business, the power's out in the majority of North Mississippi still. They have no way to get into a store to get anything that they need as it is, even if the roads were in perfect condition, which they're not. So that's why this help is so important that you're providing, I think.
It is. You can't get food at the grocery store. You can't get fuel at the gas station because they're without power. The pumps are shut down. Nothing's operational. And so I'm very thankful that the warming shelters are open. They tell me, I heard the governor say there's one in every county, in some cases more than one in each county, where people can go and warm up. I encourage people to do that if you're able to do that. If you know elderly or folks who are trapped at home, get them to those warming stations over the next couple of days. It will warm up, but it's still going to be cold as we dig out of this the next week or so.
Now, tell them again where they can take their donations and run through the list one more time of everything that you're looking for that they need in North Mississippi.
Yeah, we're here on the State Fairgrounds in Jackson, right off of I-55. Just pull in, come in through the main gate. You will take a right. And that will put you right in front of the old National Guard Armory. If you've been to the fairgrounds, you're familiar with that old building. I put a picture of it on our Facebook page. But that's where we will be receiving donations. What do we need? Bottled water. We need paper products. We need canned goods. We need non-perishable food items, baby diapers, baby formula, even pet food. We're getting a lot of calls. People are running out of pet food for their animals. Can openers. I said canned goods. Cook stoves, propane, anything you could think of on going on a camping trip. That's the situation that we're trying to respond to. So help us. You can help us get the product here. We'll get it where it needs to go ourselves through the Department of Ag and Commerce or through MEMA and the Department of Public Safety that's also helping distribute these items.
Commissioner Andy Gipson doing the good work as always. We appreciate you, sir, and keep us up to date. If there's anything we can do to help you, let us know.
From Duck Hill to Alligator. Mississippians start their day the right way. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Yonder comes a gal of mine. How do you think I know? Not by the gingham gown, hang down so low. I'm the pig home to pin, corn feed him on. All I need is for a little girl, feed him wet and gone. Dark clouds rising, surely sign of rain. Get your grip on it, don't little eyes of Jane. I'm gonna take it home in a bin, corn to feed him on. All I need is for a little girl, feed him wet and gone.
Welcome back. Mornings on Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks to Commissioner Andy Gipson for joining us and also for doing the good work he's doing. It's not the first time. This didn't come out of just nowhere. The Department of Agriculture has been helping out in disasters for quite some time, and this one is no exception. Yesterday, Governor Reeves had his press conference, 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and gave some stats. He announced, of course, that the National Guard was being activated, initially 500 guardsmen being sent out to help. But he gave some damage stats, and Lance, I don't know if you saw those. It was surprising how low the numbers were to me. It really was. 14 reports of major residential damage, 3 reports of minor residential damage, major damage to 1 business, and major damage to 20 public roads. Now, of course, that's not talking about trees down and power lines down. That's actual damage to the road or to the structures themselves. And I want to look at that as a positive in a way because, yes, we have problems. Yes, we've got a lot of stuff we've got to work through. But honestly, in some ways, it could have been worse, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. It could have been much, much worse.
They have a total of 33 counties that submitted requests for assistance. A grand total of 136 help requests have come in to the state of Mississippi throughout this over the past couple of days. And again, it's hard to remember. It feels like we've been dealing with this for a week. It's just been a day or two since this really settled in. It was late Saturday night, Sunday morning is when the worst of it hit. But it just feels like it has been longer than that.
Well, the cold definitely as well. You know, it rained so much beforehand. Then you get the super cold weather, and these temps they're bitter. I mean, this isn't anything anyone's very much used to unless you've lived up in the northern part of the country. Even Buddy Slowick, who is from New England, said this is too cold. And you know, that's a dude that's been through some good storms up there. So, you know, it's just a different type of cold, too. The dampness of everything yesterday and the day before, I think, just adds to the bone chillingness of it all, which just compounds with all of the disaster that's out there and in front of you. But as you just stated, yes, it could have been much worse. Just imagine that storm making it into Jackson, where you have a huge concentration of people, of Mississippians, residents, the metro area, probably around 500,000 people that were spared from just barely miles. I mean, it was, you see the outages in Yazoo County, you see the outages in Madison, you see the outages in Hines. If that storm would have fully hit those counties, especially Madison and Hines, there would have been a huge difference. And then as well over into Rankin. So, yes, could have been much, much worse. Thank the good Lord it wasn't. And thank goodness we have people like Brad White and Andy Gipson on task.
You know, you talk about that. Just want to mention again, the current number of power outages in Rankin County, 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Not 800, not 8,000, 8. Less than 10. So that line was very well defined as the storm system came through. Speaking of power outages, I'm very happy to say that first number is no longer 140,000. It's 139,766. So continuing to move in the right direction. And again, as we talked about yesterday, you're going to see some fluctuation for a little while of it going down, then maybe going back up a little bit, because as Brad was talking, you still have limbs falling.
Yeah, well, and the unsung heroes out there, too. And my mother worked in this field and my father, and it's the insurance adjuster and the insurance agent with all of the damage that you're going to have. And you see a lot of those folks can't get out there yet, and I'm glad one of our listeners from the 601 jumped on the line. And as an insurance claims adjuster, as he states, I can assure you it's hundreds of houses, if not more, damaged. And we won't know that for the time being. The folks in those homes know there's damage, but yet the amount of assistance needed is going to be huge. So, well, anything that people can do to help, if it's not going to put you in jeopardy, I can assure you those folks would love to have your help.
Well, and that's exactly right. And we have to remember those damage reports are going to go up because in some cases the people aren't home. People aren't going into work in North Mississippi to know if the building is damaged or to know if their home is damaged, if they're at a warming center or if they went to stay with relatives down in the south part of the state or whatever, and they haven't been home. They don't know.
Right.
We will see as the roads open up, those damage reports increase. Because, again, it's a little bit heartening that the numbers are low that the governor gave yesterday, but we're going to see those numbers go up because this is an unusual event. I keep comparing it to hurricane and tornado events that we've had in the past. That happens, and you know what you're dealing with. This is kind of a rolling disaster in that, trees and tree limbs continue to fall. We have people that don't know there's damage yet. There's a lot of things that are going to continue to unfold over the next day or two, so we need to manage our expectations for what we're dealing with here.
And again, just reminders on carbon monoxide. If you are having any kind of a fire in the house, be careful. Make sure you are have a window vented or something to allow that to take place. And as well, if you're stuck in a car somewhere and you are trying to create heat, make sure you crack the window a bit or open the door periodically. One of our listeners has a goddaughter heading to Colorado for a new military assignment for Space Force. How cool. Her and the mom got trapped on I-20 between Monroe and Shreveport and have been since yesterday.
Yep.
Icy bridges, construction, wrecks have shut down I-20, and the National Guard is bringing in heavy wreckers to clear the road. So, again, if you're in those situations, let us know. We definitely appreciate it, and our prayers and thoughts are with you guys out there.
Well, and that's that same basic stretch of I-20 I was talking about earlier this morning where people have been stuck for 2 nights.
Well, in the break, the commissioner and I were visiting. He said, Lance, no one needs to be traveling these roads. I mean, he says, we were lucky to get up there and back. And, he's seen disasters. This is one there where you know that when you've got inches of black ice on an interstate, it's not a good thing. And most people here are just not skilled in dealing with that. Even if you have a 4-wheel drive, you'll be in a ditch before you know it. So if you are out, just take heed and be careful. Let's don't add up to more disaster than we need. But again, can't say enough about folks like Brad White and the commissioner, Andy Gipson, for their leadership in this terrible situation.
Yeah, and it's going to, as always, take time to fight through it, but we're going to do it. It'll be fine. Mm-hmm. The show, Mornings, about to be with Richard Cross again, by the way.
Been busy this morning.
After the break, we're going to have him back on and get an update from what's going on in Oxford. But it's presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, they're more than just a place to manage your money. They're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, they've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, they are there for you every step of the way. They're dedicated to their customers, committed to your success, and always there when you need them. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. To find out more information, you can go to their website at communitybank.net and find out, what they can do to help you out. Did have one piece of good news I just wanted to share. I don't know if you saw this. We have a story up. JT Mitchell has it on SuperTalk Mississippi News. We've had it, been talking about it on there. Had a guy on American Idol, got 3 yeses, moved on to Hollywood Week. From graduate of Moss Point. He's from Moss Point, Mississippi. Did Don't Stop Believing. And
Gerard had to have tuned into that.
You would think so. Fan. Yeah. Daniel Stallworth is his name. He actually went to Alcorn. He was the chair of the gospel choir there. Awesome. Very talented, very skilled, and once again, at this point, can we just take American Idol and rename it as the Mississippi Award?
Yeah, I mean, I got to go back and do some research. I know Paul Gallo and others and JT were on top of this a little more than I, but the 24th season of American Idol, how many Mississippians have made it into that, those rounds that truly matter? Got to be a huge number compared to anyone else.
Well, Jamal Roberts, of course, won the whole thing last year out of Meridian. Back in the day, back towards the beginning, we had LaPortia Renee from down here in
what a great
Pike
name,
County.
Too, huh?
Yeah, and a fantastic talent. So we have had several out of those 24 years. You can't help it when you're good, Lance.
Yeah, when you're good, you're good.
It just shines through. Speaking of which, when we come back from the frozen tundra of Oxford, we'll talk with our very own Richard Cross when we return on Mornings right after this.
She lets me use the car. From the know what's being said in the halls of the Capitol? You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross continues on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I'm a hard-working man. I wear a steel hard hat. I can ride rope, a hammer and paint, do things with my hands that most men can't. I can't get ahead no matter how hard I try. I'm getting really good at barely getting by.
Welcome back. Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes here. And joining us now from Oxford, Mississippi, where all the ice is, every last piece of it, our very own Richard Cross. How you doing this morning, man?
Dave, I'm good. There is less ice today than there was yesterday, and hopefully when we all put our heads on the pillow tonight, there's going to be significantly less. Temperatures, I don't think they ever got above freezing yesterday, but there was beautiful sunshine. And the good Lord knew what he was doing when he put that big ball of fire in the sky, because there was a lot of melt yesterday. I think the utility crews, the contractors, and I guess our version of the Cajun Navy, the Mississippi version of the Cajun Navy, kind of got out, and everybody's trying to help each other out. And there's progress. Happy to report progress this morning. A lot of people still without power. You've got some people without water, and that's an issue. But overall, progress yesterday and hopefully today is a big work day for a lot of people.
Well, and you say that about the power. That's one of the biggest issues that I know you guys are facing up there. I had an update just about an hour ago from the Tippah County Electric Power Association. There were some rumors going around that TVA had the transmission line back up to feed them. And Tippah Electric said, no, that's not the case. They're still working on all the transmission lines. So when the transmission lines get back up in North Mississippi, I think we're going to see a lot of people's lights come on that are currently off. Do you think that's accurate?
In a lot of places, yes. Especially in places where a lot of the power is underground in neighborhoods and there was limited tree damage. The problem in a lot of the older parts of Oxford in particular is that, yes, you may have juice coming in from TVA, but there was so much tree damage and so many lines that were down that even if the main transmission lines have got juice coming to them, there's nowhere to send it yet. And so there's a lot of debris removal that is happening. I think, and look, most of my knowledge is related to Oxford because it's where I am and haven't had a ton of communication with the outside communities. I know there are a lot of other areas in North Mississippi that were hit hard and are dealing with some of the same things that Oxford is. So I'm not trying to make this about Oxford. It's just what I'm familiar with right now. And so with Oxford, they had the city crews ready to go, and they staged places. They staged equipment in different parts of town. It's my understanding that there were 7 outside kind of commercial contracting crews that they worked with, whether it's excavator companies or tree services, and they're just going wide open. And in our neighborhood, there are 2 or 3 roads that are still passable because of a combination of trees and power lines that are down. And people have been encouraged not to mess with power lines. We've heard that over and over and over. You've got to let either one of these contract crews or the city crews or somebody from those groups confirm, hey, these power lines are dead so that they can be moved. And so there are a lot of people that are not part of those companies that want to help and are helping as best they can, but they can't just go out and go crazy with chainsaws and excavators on their own. So there's it's a tedious process, and it's one of those where patience, I think I used that word yesterday, is of paramount importance. This is probably not the time to get all of your information from the What's Happening in Oxford Facebook page, which is at times has good information, but is also one of the greatest cesspools on planet Earth.
That's kind of across the board on Facebook with groups at this point. It's a mixed bag. Yeah. You've got to filter it when you get through there. But you kind of have to understand where at least that's coming from partially, because this is a very frustrating situation when you want to be doing something. I think all of you up there just want to be doing something right now, anything, but there are very limited options to what you could do at the moment, aren't there?
Yeah, there are, and I think maybe the most important thing at this point is be part of whatever your most local community is. So if you live in a neighborhood, make sure that the people that are a little bit older, that maybe cannot get out even if they would like to right now, that they've got food, that they've got some form of heat. If those folks need help, try to find help for them. If you live in a more rural area, we know that a lot of our agricultural community and just a lot of folks that choose to live in the country, they kind of rely on each other. And that is a largely self-reliant and self-sufficient group. But just make sure the people around you kind of rally together. And I think we can all get through this. But I understand the frustration. Talked to a guy that was coming last night from Memphis. It took him 4 hours to get from Memphis to Batesville. And I think Lance was telling me during the break that you guys have gotten some pictures from maybe one of the exit ramps off of I-55, and it was just like a parking lot with 18-wheelers backed up. So especially in the shady areas, and there are a bunch of those on the interstate, still really slick. And we sometimes get brave faster than we should. And we're like, oh, well, I can go faster than, it's clear here. And you come up on one of those patches of ice and you get in a mess in a hurry.
Well, I got to tell you, when you lean forward, the camera angle change. Don't be under those icicles when it starts melting, because those things look deadly.
Yeah. I don't know if it's stalactites or stalagmites. I can't ever remember which ones go up and which ones go down, but you got a lot of that today. And that's the other thing with all this freezing rain. The ice comes down in chunks, especially in the trees. So if you're working in the tree removal area right now, cutting limbs, you can you might get the limb you want, but you might get a headache with the ice coming down too.
Well, and that is part of we were talking about it in the last segment, and I mentioned the fact that this is different from a tornado or a hurricane in that this is a rolling problem. Problems continue to multiply even as we start to see thawing. It seems like every day there's a different set of problems that you have to deal with, and that makes it even worse to go through, I would think.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this a little bit yesterday, Dave. You've got this 2 steps forward and then maybe a step back. I don't think it's 2 steps back necessarily, but even as some of these power lines are repaired, they're trying to clear the debris around the power lines so that you don't have kind of a double down effect. But in some cases, as you've got tree limbs that maybe have been compromised, maybe they snapped, but they didn't completely break. And so you've kind of cleared out lines, and you still may have some limbs, in some cases some big limbs that are falling. I know in our front yard, I looked up yesterday, and we've got a couple of oak trees that they're limbs that are hanging that have to come down eventually, and I hope they come down when we want them to come down, or somebody that's better with a bucket truck and a chainsaw than I am brings them down, as opposed to just trying to come down on their own at this point.
Well, or later on, because when I say this is a rolling problem, the other thing is you're going to have some of these trees that are not going to survive this encasement in ice, and the next big wind event that you have, you've got an additional layer of problems that will pop up. But let's not borrow trouble right now. Let's deal with the problem right in front of us, which is the fact that Richard's cold.
Let's focus on the good right now, because there is a lot of good going on. You have probably said yourself, and we've certainly heard it said before, that sometimes from the most difficult situations we see the best in Mississippians, and I think that is absolutely the case. Not just where I am, but all across North Mississippi and across other parts of the state that were affected as well. I was talking with a couple of gentlemen from the Delta that were bringing some supplies over yesterday, and they said, I guess they were coming from Clarksdale, and from Clarksdale to Batesville, it was pretty treacherous on the road. And I'm just going to ask about the conditions that they had gotten, and the gentleman I was talking to said, he said Oxford got what we got 31 years ago, talking about the 94 ice storm. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think a lot of parts of Clarksdale in particular, but other parts of the Delta, they got a ton of sleet. But it wasn't the freezing rain that we got. And when you hear that forecast moving forward, there may be a new respect for when they talk about freezing rain versus, ice and sleet and snow. I think we can all live with snow and a little bit of sleet, but that freezing rain can do a number on us.
Talking to Richard Cross, the host of Mornings with Richard Cross, here on Mornings with Richard Cross. Can you stick around through the break?
Absolutely. And my plan, Dave, is for you to not have to get up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock tomorrow.
You have never looked more handsome. Let me just say that right now.
I appreciate that.
You're a good-looking man at the moment, let me tell you. We will continue with Richard right after this. You're on Mornings on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
The sunny side you also may view. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all the way. If we'll keep on the sunny side of life.
From the No filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. But all with expert timing.
To be fair, if you're trying to walk down some of the streets in Oxford, you look like you're kung fu fighting, just trying to keep your balance, I would assume. Welcome back, Mornings with Richard Cross, actually for real, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net for more information. Who was it? It was Carl somebody that did that song, wasn't it?
Carl Douglas, yes.
Carl Douglas. I couldn't remember the last
I told him, Richard, he had to guess the artist here. He got half of it right.
Yeah, Lance,
that's good.
Does Lance give you homework like that during the breaks, or am I the only lucky one?
From time to time, but Lance also knows that in terms of cultural references, I might be the worst in the entire world. He's like, "Hey, have you seen that movie?" "No, Lance, I haven't seen that movie." "Hey, do you know who?" "No, I don't know who sang that song." But you can tell me, because the wealth of knowledge inside that brain of Lance Tolbert is impressive. I think the only place that I thought kung fu fighting might break out yesterday was in the lines at some of the gas stations. As it wasn't carrier pigeon, but it was close. When a gas station would open, it was like, "Hey, they're open. Great. Have they got gas?" "Yes." And then everybody just flocked. And for the most part, people were being pretty patient and waiting their turn. But there was the occasional skipping of line that seemed to get people in and out I don't know, kind of out of whack a little bit.
Well,
hey, Dave, I just wanted to mention, if I could just for a quick second, I was communicating yesterday with Jim Richmond from C Spire. He's been with them for a really, really long time. C Spire's a great partner of ours at SuperTalk. And Jim told me that they had about 200 cell tower sites as of yesterday that were running on generator power. And so we talked with Charles Watson at the end of last week. I think it was on Thursday. And he kind of talked to us about their preparation, not just the days, but weeks, months, and years in advance on how to try and keep the cell sites up. And I know people have said, hey, cell signals kind of gone in and out. There is maybe a little bit of that. But the job that they've done to keep people in communication over these last few days is just so incredibly important. And big tip of the cap to our friends at C Spire, whose folks are working around the clock to try to make sure that the communications network on both the cell side and the data side stays up and running.
Well, and that's an ongoing project. You don't just get out there, get it going, and you're done until it's over. You have to continually maintain that stuff. So, yeah, that's a lot of effort being put out by C Spire, and definitely worth mentioning. Something that will be of interest to some folks, on their website, Entergy has released estimated restoration times for various areas in the state, customers of theirs. Natchez, Clinton, and Senatobia today, they're expecting. Vicksburg, Madison. Yeah, Vicksburg and Madison will be tomorrow. Cleveland, Greenville, and Indianola, they're saying it's going to be Friday before they get it back up there. Grenada, they're saying Sunday before it'll be back up. Ooh. Yeah, so we're looking at a week, basically, for some locations. And I think that's going to be true across the board, if not longer for some spots, right?
And I don't know that there's been a more asked question than, hey, when is the power going to be back on? It's great to hear that there are some estimates from Entergy. They service parts of North Mississippi. Their biggest service area is in the Delta and in central Mississippi and the southern part of the state. And so where I am, it's a combination of Northeast Power, which is a cooperative that works under the TVA umbrella, and then the City of Oxford Utility Department. At Oxford, I think the number that I heard was either 16 or 17 main transmission sites that exist. 11 of those were completely offline. And so the first day they got one of them back up. I think they were able to get a couple of those back up. So you've got parts of Oxford that do have power. And when we kind of talked earlier about neighbors helping neighbors. This is maybe one of the areas where if you do have power back, maybe you can reach out to somebody that does it and say, hey, you need a warm spot to sleep tonight. You need to come take a hot shower. Come on. We'll host you. We'll welcome you as long as you need it, because it is going to still be days in some areas that were affected by the most tree damage.
Well, and that's the thing, because you don't want people to get the wrong expectations in place and think, oh, the sun's out, it's warming up, it's all going to be better really quickly. Well, the answer to that, unfortunately, is it depends, because every neighborhood, every municipality, every county is a different story up there right now.
Yeah. Well, it is, and it's all local. And
you know, that's perfect timing, because the Outbed's playing. I don't know how much better that could have been. Hate I didn't get to tell him bye and tell him how good looking he is again after what he said. Richard Cross, hopefully, we'll see. Gives us a lot of confidence the way that ended. Hopefully, back with us tomorrow here on Mornings. Lance, take care of yourself, my friend, and keep everybody between the mustard and the mayo out there on the roads.
I'll do my part, brother.
That's all we can do. Mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Back again tomorrow morning at
a SuperTalk Mississippi media production.